This is the Scenario Radio Show. Real talk with a playlist.
All right, y'all, it's time for The Choice is Yours. That's where we give our guests and you, the listeners, some choices on what the choice would be, and we ask you what your answers would be so we can take you to the crossroads.
Yeah.
So this week on The Choice is Yours, what city had the biggest impact on hip hop? Would that be Memphis, New Orleans, Houston, or Atlanta? So I'm going to go to our guests first to get their answers. So, Mike Jordan, what is the choice? Which city had the biggest impact on hip hop?
Popular answer or real answer?
Both.
Real answer. We want the real.
Real.
Popular
get
answer.
popular
People gonna
too.
say Atlanta, but being really real, today's hip hop or Southern hip hop, it's all Memphis.
Mm. And why?
Yeah.
The musical influence. If you look at trap, if you look at even some drill,
Mm-hmm.
the speed, the tempo, the BPMs, the incorporation of the hi-hat, the harmony, all of that is really more of a Memphis thing than it was Atlanta. Atlanta, they are actually they're adopting more of a Memphis style now than they today. I'd say 2000 on. I would say Memphis.
Okay.
All
I
right.
can see that.
DJ Gorilla South, what about you?
I'm gonna have to agree. Popular answer is Atlanta, but I think Memphis is the real one, and that's not me being biased because we're from Tennessee. But when you look at, if you look at, like, for example, the gangster rap scene when Atlanta first blew up, 3 6 Mafia had their hands in that with Pastor Troy and T Rock. Those were the first two guys that really came out. And like I said, just like he said with the whole sound, they pretty much adopted the Memphis sound. So, but yeah, I'm gonna say the M Town all day.
This is interesting. I find this
Yeah.
interesting because I think most people in their minds think Atlanta because Atlanta probably has more popular artists that came from Atlanta that have sold well and have done well, and so that has its reach. But when I think about who was first, I think about Houston. When I think about whose sonic reach is most, then I think about Memphis. But when I think about who had the most important artists, I would say maybe New Orleans.
That was going to
Because
be my answer.
Lil Wayne is obviously one of the most important artists of the last 20 years. Master P was one of the most important executives of the last 30 years.
Yeah.
And just what they did generally with their sound, and the way it had outreach. I don't think it reached as far and went as long as, say, what Memphis' sound has done. But the reach of it was very important.
It was important, and especially for a region, for a city whose music, when you hear that New Orleans bounce, that's still theirs. I don't know if anybody else has music nowadays that's still theirs, that still belongs to that city, just because of internet and all this, and everybody has influence on anything. But I just don't know.
Right.
Not saying that it's necessarily the most important, but I think it's just dope that city still has their music, that sound, that's still organically them.
I was gonna say you can't forget about Cash Money. Cash Money was in New Orleans as well, and they had Manny Fresh on the beats. They had BG and of course Lil Wayne. So I had to go with New Orleans, and I like bounce music. I love Big Frida. It's not hip,
Frida.
but I love bounce music too, and that has an impact. But it's not hip hop. So sorry, wrong genre.
I can definitely agree with the Memphis side of it though, because just being from Tennessee and hearing it, and and I hate to be the get off my lawn person, but when you start hearing some of the acts, it's like, oh, they ain't doing nothing but 3 6. They ain't doing nothing but Paul and Juicy. And I'm not to the point. I'm not one of those people who discounts it and be like, oh, it's trash. But I recognize that's where they got it from, which actually makes me want to kind of give it a chance more. Be like, okay, so are these people who recognize that this is what they're borrowing from and they're trying to pay homage, or are they just doing what they think is hot now? You know what I'm saying? It kind of makes me kind of lend an ear to it a little more. I'll be more apt to lend an ear.
Yeah, I don't think most people recognize it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a young person,
they don't. Yeah.
If you were born in 1993, which you probably even then you would be considered.
Right now, you're 30. You old.
You're 30, so you wouldn't even if you're in your 20s, you don't know that these are the people that created. You know, that 3 6 Mafia did this music, and now people are taking what they did creatively, and it's gone on to doing
it. It's funny because now I think Juicy J is like the wild uncle now. You know what I'm saying? Like these young kids
out here.
Like it's a trip to see kids who are young enough to where Juicy J is your uncle's age, your dad's age. Like, dang, my parents were like, you know, there's people who recognize that, that's my people's music, but they still appreciate him. Like he's still out here doing it.
He's on the remix.
We need that, man. We need that badly. We need that badly because a lot of older hip hop artists don't get the respect that old rock artists get. Like young people young white people still go to old rock artists concerts, and they like young black folks try to act like it's something wrong with older rap artists still coming out getting the check. Yeah, so we really need that.
Yeah.
Mike, you were saying something.
Yeah, Juice is on the I want to say Juice and Pat on the remix to Duke Deuce's Crunk Ain't Dead.
Oh,
okay. And oh man, whew. It's a retread. It's a Memphis. You cannot. But golly, I can listen to that song all day. And Glorilla brought Gangsta Boo onto the song with her and Lotto. So that's one thing I can say about Memphis too, is their youth. They like you said, hey, these dudes paved the way for us. I want them on the record with me. And man, I can't believe we haven't said Juvenile. She brought up New Orleans. Shout out to New Orleans. Man, why have we not talked about Juvenile?
Juvenile was you know, and I think it's the eclipse of Wayne. Like it's almost like it almost feels like with Cash Money. Because I mean, for somebody who came up listening to Cash Money the early years, I don't know if y'all would agree or not, but early on, BG was it. BG was the coldest one.
Yeah, he was.
Because BG was their first artist. Like BG was that dude. That was the you know, and then Heron does what Heron does, and he went down the list. But I think initially we can all accept that BG was the dopest. Then Juvie had his time, and then Wayne always kind of was there and was consistent.
And he became synonymous with
Cash Money. Exactly. So now when you think Cash Money, you think Wayne, and I think that's the only reason we don't mention Juvie. Whereas there's parts, and I remember, dude, being in college, and my roommate was from Queens when I was in school down in Georgia, and there was a song off of that old Juvenile, and I played it, and I'm like, that was We Always Have Our Beats. I said, fool, if Nas said this same thing, you would be right here talking about, son, this is. I was like, because Juvie came on the beat, it was no beat, it was all acapella, and then the beat built up, and then he starts killing. I'm like, dude, if Nas does that, you running, jumping off the building, man. Like, because Juvie was hard, but it's just the way Wayne just eclipsed all of them. That's kind of why you just think Wayne when you think New Orleans.
Yeah, New Orleans definitely had a very important part to play in all of hip hop, and I think Mystical's overall history is going to overshadow what he did. But to be who he was when he was so unique, and he had his style, that combustible
style was just
style. It's something that you can't ignore. So what was going on in New Orleans was something unique.
And even though we only touched on it real quick, I can't remember who mentioned it. We gotta give a shout out to Miami too. Miami isn't on this list, but if you think about the bass sound and the they kind of set the foundation. And like y'all said, man, 2 Live Crew, the parental advisory sticker,
Trina Trick.
Yeah, it's so much that went on with that Miami sound that kind of I think helped kind of lend to where that Atlanta bass sound kind of came from. So that's why when people say Atlanta, I'm like, I don't know if everything that Atlanta did to me was influenced by somebody else. It was nothing that I heard from Atlanta to say that's exclusively Atlanta. Like when I hear the bass,
get him Snap.
Yeah, I get right.
Yeah, they did do Snap. They did
right.
Yeah, they did.
But like the Buddha music, that was Florida influence, and then the gangster and the crunk was Memphis.
Memphis.
So I think the best thing you can say about Atlanta is that they were able to take everything, a little bit of everything from all these other places and take it farther. Further than anyone else.
That's fair.
They took it. They brought it to the world in ways that other people weren't able to do. So I guess that's the way that we'll look at
That's
that.
the way to put it, which is nothing wrong with that. They took what they had and they made it work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is the Scenario Radio Show. Real talk with a playlist.